Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to be using our different shading pencils as well as our kneaded eraser and our normal eraser. But also, if you have other pencils at home that maybe someone bought you for drawing, you can go ahead and grab out whatever you have to kind of test these things out. And so different pencils make different kinds of marks and are good for different jobs. And so when I go to a store, probably the thing that I normally try first is I kind of just take a pencil and they normally have scratch paper there, and I just test them out. So I kind of hold it and I make maybe a range of value from like darker to like lighter to see what the range of the pencil is. This is just an HB pencil, right? It says it on the end here. And so that's like your standard number 2 pencil. This is a 4H pencil, and I would just like do the same thing. And I can see that this pencil is lighter than the one that I just tried. And then the other one that you have is your 4B pencil. And that one goes really dark really fast. All right, and so I like to keep pencils nice and sharp when I'm shading, so you might have to do a lot of back and forth for this. So what we're gonna do is take some notes if you haven't already done so. And what we're gonna do is kind of like just talk about pencils. So in the middle, we have our HB pencil, which is like your standard number 2 pencil. And so there are a bunch of different kinds of pencils. These are our H pencils, and they are hard, right? And then our B pencils stand for black, but I also like to think of them as being brittle. And so basically, as I go from like a 1B to a 2B all the way up to a 10B, what happens is that this pencil gets softer, which also makes it darker. And so in my pencils, the darkest one I personally have is a 6B here at school. At home, I have some 8Bs, and I think I might even have a 10B. You probably have, the darkest you have is like a 4B, okay? I also have like an extra black, which is kind of like a 6B-ish pencil too, right? So then the H's stand for hard, and so as you use those, same sort of principle, kind of like a 0 line, as you move this way to a 2H, and I've seen them all the way up to 9 H's, you have a 4H or a 2H, they get harder as they move to the higher number. And that means that they also get lighter. So why would you want different pencils that go darker and lighter? It's not that you necessarily use them together. Like some pencils aren't necessarily just good for light values, and some pencils aren't really good for just dark values. What I like to use them for is more like how I draw. So for the H pencils, I tend to use those for sketching and drawing things out. So things that you need to be light, maybe when I do some watercolor paper. I just don't want the pencil to be so hard that it ruins my watercolor paper. And then your B pencils are really good for shading. So if you're gonna add value in pencil, more than likely you're gonna wanna use this. And a lot of these pencils can be used together. But you also want to test them out first, because sometimes a 2B black doesn't feel like it's the same like temperature or warmth of like a 6B pencil. So you kind of want to test those things out before you actually start to use them. So we're going to practice using value scales. We're going to be shading from light to dark. And so the first thing we need to do is just to draw it out. So you're going to grab yourself a ruler, and you can use maybe your 4H pencil or an HB pencil for this, since it's kind of like the sketching component here. And what we're going to do is go straight across the paper, and we're going to measure 3 inches across. Then we're going to skip a 1/2 inch. We're going to do another 3 inches. So I went 3, then a 1/2, and then I did another 3. So I actually go to 6 1/2 here. Okay, and then I'm going to go 2 inches down and try to make it straight as I can, but if it's a little crooked, who cares? This is just practice. Okay, so this is 2 inches down. If you need to pause it, go ahead and do that. And then you can push play when you're ready to go. And I'm going to do the 3 again, the 1/2, and then another 3. So we're going to have 3 by 2 rectangles. So 2 inches down, this is all 3 across, 1/2 inch in between, and 3 across. So then from there, we've got to make our rows for actually shading in them. So we're going to do little tick marks every 1/2 inch. I'm going to do that on 2 sides. So I did it on the left and the right. And then I'm going to go ahead and connect them. So don't press hard, because pressing hard creates grooves in the paper. It damages the paper. And we don't need this to be particularly dark. Okay, so in this first row, we're going to end up putting our 4H pencil. In the second one, we're going to do our HB pencil. That's your number 2 pencil. So if you lose that one, you can find it just by using another wooden pencil. And then you have your 4B pencil. Okay. I'm also going to do one with my extra black, because a lot of times in school when we are here, I get those as well. Those were just back ordered because of how popular they are, and so they didn't have enough of them for us to get out to our art PPE for online learning. Okay, so this is going to be our tonal scale. So this is going to be a stepped tonal scale. So we're going to do one more thing just to that. We're not going to do it all the way across, and we're going to measure a 1/2 inch again. So we put little tick marks, right? Line it up on a line, 1/2 inch, and then connect. So we have little squares. I repeat, we are not doing this to the other side. That's where we're going to put our gradation scales. Okay. So that's part 1, and then we'll practice shading this in part 2, and then part 3 we'll do the gradation.